Owning your choices begins with understanding that life will never hand you success. It does not owe you opportunities, recognition, or comfort. Every decision you make matters because your future is shaped by the cumulative effect of the small choices you take every single day. Eric Thomas teaches that when you internalize this truth, you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating the perfect conditions for success with the resources you have right now. The moment you realize that the pen is in your hands, the mindset shifts from being a victim to being a victor. You stop blaming your environment, your past, or the people around you. Excuses lose their power because you understand that your life is a direct reflection of your decisions. Ownership is not a feeling. It is a practice, a discipline, and a way of thinking that governs every action you take. Every choice you make, no matter how small, builds or erodes your destiny. The decision to get out of bed early, to put in the extra hours, to study when others are resting, or to push yourself when it hurts, all these are choices that compound over time. Eric Thomas emphasizes that greatness is not born overnight. It is sculpted through consistent, intentional decisions. Your future is the sum of your present actions, and you hold full control over them. Owning your choices requires a level of honesty that many people are unwilling to embrace. You must confront your weaknesses, your fears, and your failures without hiding behind blame. It is uncomfortable, it is raw, and it is necessary. When you are honest with yourself, you can see where you have fallen short and where you have the power to rise. Responsibility begins with self-awareness, and without awareness, no choice can be truly yours. Decision-making is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows stronger with use. Each time you choose action over hesitation, accountability over blame, and effort over comfort, you reinforce the habit of ownership. Eric Thomas often emphasizes that the difference between the average and the extraordinary is the willingness to make hard choices consistently. When you master this, your destiny begins to bend toward your will. Understanding the gravity of your choices also changes how you view time. Every hour you spend wasted, distracted, or passive is a moment lost that cannot be reclaimed. Ownership demands that you treat time as sacred and decisions as pivotal. You begin to see that the small, consistent actions, showing up, learning, grinding, and persevering, create the trajectory that determines whether your life is average or exceptional. Owning your choices is also about embracing accountability in every sphere of life. Success does not come from luck or waiting for circumstances to align. It comes from intentional action, repeated consistently. Eric Thomas teaches that when you take ownership of your life, failure becomes feedback, obstacles become opportunities, and fear becomes a compass pointing to growth. Every outcome is yours to claim or change. You also learn to set standards for yourself when you own your choices. You stop settling for mediocrity because you understand that your habits, your decisions, and your priorities are building blocks of your destiny. Eric Thomas emphasizes that success begins with a refusal to accept less than your full potential. When you set high standards, your decisions naturally align with the level of greatness you seek. Owning your choices demands courage. Courage is required to step out of comfort, to face uncertainty, and to make decisions that might not please everyone around you. It is easy to follow the crowd, to take the path of least resistance, and to let life happen to you. But when you claim ownership, you step into the discomfort of leadership over your own life, making choices that reflect your vision, not someone else's expectations. Responsibility over your destiny also requires patience. The results of your choices may not be immediate, and often the world will test your commitment. Eric Thomas teaches that the ability to stay disciplined, consistent, and focused even when outcomes are not visible is what separates the successful from the rest. Ownership is a long-term game, played moment by moment, choice by choice. Your mindset shapes how you make decisions. If you approach life thinking that someone else is in control, you will act passively, waiting for chance, luck, or permission. But when you embrace that every choice is yours, you begin to act with urgency, with intention, and with clarity. Eric Thomas often says that ownership in the mind translates directly to ownership in action. The more you think like a victor, the more your actions follow suit. Every obstacle, every setback, and every challenge becomes a proving ground for your ownership. When life pushes back, When people doubt you, when circumstances try to hold you down, owning your choices means you take decisive action anyway. You do not wait for comfort or clarity, you move forward. Eric Thomas teaches that those who shape their destiny are willing to act even when fear and uncertainty scream the loudest. Owning your choices also requires resilience. You will make mistakes. You will face failure. But responsibility means learning from those moments, correcting your path, and doubling down on your efforts. Every decision to keep going strengthens your capacity for ownership. Each time you refuse to let failure define you, you reinforce the mindset that you are in control of your own life. The more you embrace ownership, the more empowered you become. You realize that no one can stop you unless you allow them. Your future is not dictated by your circumstances, background, or past. It is dictated by the choices you make today. Eric Thomas stresses that this realization ignites a fire that propels action, fuels discipline, and motivates relentless pursuit of your dreams. Finally, owning your destiny is about living intentionally. Life becomes a series of deliberate, purposeful decisions, each aligned with your long-term vision. When you claim full responsibility, every action is a statement that you will not be controlled by circumstance, that your dreams are non-negotiable, and that your life will reflect the choices you make. Ownership is not a one-time act. It is a continuous commitment to making every choice count. Blaming others for where you are in life is one of the most dangerous traps a person can fall into. It is comfortable to point fingers at family, friends, the system, or your circumstances, but the moment you do, you give your power away. Eric Thomas teaches that when you wait for life to change on its own, you surrender control, and surrender is the opposite of success. Your destiny does not depend on someone else's choices, it depends on your response to reality. Too often, people are paralyzed by the illusion that the perfect conditions must exist before they can act. They wait for the right school, the right job, the right connection, or the perfect economy. Eric Thomas makes it clear that the perfect moment rarely comes. Life is messy, unpredictable, and unfair. Success does not wait for permission or timing. It comes to those who act regardless of conditions. Circumstances are neutral. They are neither your enemy nor your ally. They simply exist. Your interpretation and response determine whether they become excuses or opportunities. Blaming the economy for your financial struggles or your upbringing for your mindset is a refusal to accept reality. Eric Thomas teaches that true power emerges when you stop blaming and start acting. The hunger for success cannot coexist with a mindset of blame. When you are truly determined, you see circumstances as a challenge to overcome, not a justification to remain stagnant. Every setback becomes fuel, every disappointment becomes a teacher, and every failure becomes a stepping stone. Blame is the comfort of the weak. Action is the weapon of the strong. Responsibility demands confronting reality head-on. It is not about wishing life were different. It is about acknowledging exactly where you are and taking ownership of how you will move forward. Eric Thomas emphasizes that the moment you accept this truth, excuses lose their power, and you reclaim your ability to shape your future. Waiting for permission is a trap. Too many people spend their lives waiting for someone to approve their dreams, validate their efforts, or create an opportunity for them. Eric Thomas teaches that no one owes you a chance. If you want success, you must create it yourself. Waiting is wasted energy. Action is currency in the marketplace of life. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity when you refuse to blame. When life pushes back, the weak complain, but the hungry respond. Your environment, upbringing, and even the people who doubt you cannot stop your determination unless you let them. Eric Thomas insists that greatness is achieved by those who see difficulty as a call to action, not an excuse to quit. Blame diminishes growth. When you focus on external factors, you divert attention away from yourself, the one person who truly controls the outcome. Eric Thomas teaches that progress comes from examining your choices, adjusting your strategy, and executing relentlessly. The moment you stop blaming others, you take full control of your trajectory. Excuses are seductive because they feel safe. They allow you to avoid responsibility, to remain comfortable, and to escape the stress of accountability. But comfort never breeds greatness. Eric Thomas reminds us that success is forged in discomfort, and action always begins where excuses end. When you embrace responsibility, excuses become irrelevant. The world will never align perfectly with your ambitions. People will fail you, systems will disappoint you, and circumstances will challenge you. But success is not about waiting for life to cooperate. It is about refusing to be a victim. Eric Thomas emphasizes that those who achieve greatness do so because they act despite imperfection, uncertainty, and resistance. Blaming others also erodes confidence. When you look outside yourself for reasons you are not succeeding, you reinforce a mindset of powerlessness. Eric Thomas teaches that true confidence is built when you accept full responsibility for your life. When you know that every action, every choice, and every effort rests in your hands, you become unstoppable. Responsibility transforms struggle into strength. Each challenge becomes a test of your commitment, focus, and resilience. Eric Thomas often says that the universe will throw obstacles at everyone, but the difference lies in how you respond. Those who refuse to blame use adversity as fuel to propel themselves toward their goals. Blame is a mask for fear. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of the unknown. It hides behind excuses and rationalizations. Eric Thomas teaches that when you face fear directly, take ownership of your actions, and refuse to assign responsibility to others, you grow stronger, bolder, and more resilient. Action is the antidote to blame. The moment you stop blaming, you must start doing. Every hour wasted on complaints is an hour lost in building your future. Eric Thomas emphasizes that results come from relentless execution, not wishful thinking. When you take responsibility, every effort, no matter how small, compounds into progress. Ultimately, stopping the habit of blaming is about freedom. When you let go of excuses, you reclaim control over your life, your choices, and your destiny. Eric Thomas teaches that freedom comes when you accept that nothing outside of you determines your success. Only your actions, your mindset, and your relentless pursuit of growth. Every obstacle, every struggle, and every challenge becomes a canvas for you to demonstrate your power. Responsibility without action is meaningless. Thinking about taking charge, planning, and setting intentions will never move your life forward unless you act. Eric Thomas emphasizes that accountability only becomes powerful when it is paired with relentless execution. It is action that turns your responsibility into tangible results and transforms your dreams into reality. Those who understand the power of action do not wait for permission or motivation to strike. They do not sit around hoping the right moment will arrive. Eric Thomas teaches that motivation is fleeting, temporary, and unreliable. Success belongs to those who act whether they feel inspired or not, who move forward even when the fire inside seems low. Every action you take is a declaration of ownership. When you push past fear, doubt, or hesitation and take deliberate steps toward your goals, you demonstrate that you are in control of your life. Eric Thomas reminds us that results are not random. They are the natural outcome of consistent, intentional, and persistent action. The hungry do not wait. They understand that life rewards movement, not contemplation. Waiting for clarity, comfort, or permission only prolongs mediocrity. Taking action, no matter how imperfect, creates momentum. Eric Thomas emphasizes that momentum is the bridge between intention and accomplishment. Every step forward compounds over time, propelling you toward your destiny. Action requires courage. To step out and do what must be done is to confront fear head-on. Eric Thomas often says that fear is inevitable, but action is the antidote. The moment you act despite fear, you grow stronger, more confident, and more capable of handling future challenges. Courage and action are inseparable components of ownership. Consistency magnifies the impact of action. One decisive act may spark progress, but repeated action is what transforms potential into mastery. Eric Thomas stresses that greatness is achieved through daily commitment, through doing what others will not, and through showing up even when you feel exhausted, discouraged, or uncertain. Action also teaches accountability. When you take responsibility for doing, you learn the real consequences of your choices. Eric Thomas emphasizes that understanding outcomes requires experience. Planning, thinking, and hoping can only take you so far. Action exposes the reality of what works, what fails, and what must be improved. Obstacles are inevitable, but action turns obstacles into stepping stones. Each challenge, setback, or failure becomes an opportunity to refine your strategy and strengthen your resolve. Eric Thomas teaches that winners do not stop because of difficulty, they adjust, adapt, and act with renewed purpose. Action transforms adversity into achievement. Taking decisive action builds confidence. Each time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you are capable, resourceful, and committed. Eric Thomas emphasizes that confidence is earned through doing, not thinking or talking. Repeated action trains the mind, conditions the body, and shapes the spirit to handle greater challenges. Action fuels momentum, and momentum fuels results. When you consistently do what others avoid, you develop a rhythm, a discipline, and a drive that propels you forward even when motivation wanes. Eric Thomas teaches that the combination of persistence and consistent action is the engine behind every success story. Procrastination is the enemy of ownership. Waiting for the perfect plan, or the right time, delays results and diminishes opportunity. Eric Thomas reminds us that those who dominate life are not the planners, they are the doers. Imperfect action taken immediately outweighs perfect planning left undone. Action transforms fear into power. When you move forward despite uncertainty, fear loses its grip. Each step taken is proof that you are stronger than your hesitation. Eric Thomas teaches that mastery over life comes not from avoidance, but from deliberate, courageous movement toward your goals. Results are the ultimate measure of responsibility. Thinking, wishing, and planning are meaningless without execution. Eric Thomas emphasizes that the world only respects outcomes. Every decision, every sacrifice, and every ounce of effort must translate into action that produces measurable impact. Action is also contagious. Those who take ownership inspire others to do the same. Eric Thomas teaches that when you act decisively, you create energy, momentum, and influence that ripple outward. Leadership begins with self-leadership, and action demonstrates commitment more powerfully than words ever could. Taking action requires prioritization. Not every task is equal, and not every opportunity aligns with your goals. Eric Thomas stresses that responsible action demands focus, choosing what truly matters and dedicating energy to the activities that generate the most meaningful results. Action demands sacrifice. Every hour spent executing, learning, and pushing forward may require you to give up comfort, leisure, or temporary gratification. Eric Thomas teaches that ownership means understanding the cost of success and being willing to pay it without complaint. Execution also breeds resilience. Each time you act despite difficulty, resistance, or failure, you reinforce the muscles of perseverance. Eric Thomas emphasizes that the ability to recover, persist, and continue acting in the face of adversity is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Action transforms learning into progress. Knowledge alone is powerless without implementation. Eric Thomas teaches that reading, listening, and planning are useless unless paired with deliberate steps toward your vision. Results are created when insight is converted into action. Taking ownership through action gives you freedom. When you act decisively, you no longer wait for circumstances, people, or luck. You control your trajectory, shape your outcomes, and dictate the terms of your success. Eric Thomas emphasizes that those who move relentlessly are the ones who dominate life. Finally, action creates legacy. Every decision to act, every moment of courage, and every step forward compounds into a life of impact, influence, and accomplishment. Eric Thomas teaches that ownership is validated by results, and those results define your story, inspire others, and leave a permanent mark on the world.